The PM has said he will prioritize getting kids back to school, but what are the other key dates in the path out of locked? February 22, Boris Johnson is due to unveil his roadmap and phased route out of lockdown on February 20. He has said he is optimistic about announcing the lifting of restrictions. Last weekend, during a visit to the Fujifilm Diosynth Biotechnologies plant in Billingham, Teesside, where the new Novavax vaccine will be manufactured, he said, "I'm optimistic, but we have to." The PM added, "Our children's education is our number one priority, but then working forward, getting non-essential retail open as well, and then, in due course, as and when we can prudently, cautiously, of course we want to be opening hospitals. I will be trying to set out as much as I possibly can in as much detail as I can, always understanding that we have to be wary of the pattern and we don't want to be forced into any kind of retreat or reverse ferret. Brits shouldn't expect an overnight return to freedom, as lockdown is likely to be lifted cautiously." March 8, all kids are expected to be back in class by March 8, and the PM has repeatedly said schools are his number one priority. Schools have been told that they will be given 2 weeks' notice. It isn't clear yet whether kids in exam years will go back first, followed by other years. Professor Neil Ferguson backed the reopening of schools earlier this week, adding he was very surprised and encouraged by how quickly case numbers have been coming down in recent weeks. The PM confirmed that no other sectors that are currently closed under restrictions, such as hospitality, will open until after, but rules on outdoor mixing could be relaxed so that Brits are allowed to meet a friend outside for a coffee, or current rules mean people may only meet outdoors for exercise, whilst March 31st current lockdown legislation ends on March 31st, meaning new legislation would be needed to extend the tough restrictions. It is unlikely that all restrictions will have ended by then. Face masks and social distancing measures are likely to stay in place for the long term, even when hospitality venues, non-essential shops are likely to open after schools, but again we don't know what will be first or except. Ministers had previously penciled in for shops to open in April, but this may be moved up thanks to the speedy vaccine. Should cases continue to fall, the PM could give the green light for non-essential retail to open at the end of March. But it is worth noting that, should a spike in infections occur, the government could well delay the reopening of certain industries, and ministers have stressed that dates are subject to April. Brits should be able to enjoy drinks alfresco outside from April if cases continue to fall at the current rate. A government source told The Sun, "We will hopefully be sipping pints in the spring sunshine sooner rather than later." Hospitality had been earmarked to reopen in May, with only takeaway pints allowed in April, but it's hoped this will sped up in a major boost to the blighted sector. April 30th and beyond. Earlier this week, Health Secretary Matt Hancock set a new target to vaccinate all over 50s by the end of 1 million over 65s are first on the list, alongside those with underlying health conditions. The PM confirmed the news on Monday, tweeting, "Today we start the next phase of our vaccination program, with people aged 65 to 69 and the clinically vulnerable now being offered the jab. If you are over 70 and haven't had your first jab yet, speak to your GP, book a slot online, or call 109." And at the same time, the second jabs for those who have got their first vaccines will also take place. There have been no concrete dates on when younger groups will get their jabs. However, it is likely that some can expect to be invited for their first dose in the months after. It is hoped that, with more of the population immunized, restrictions can be lifted without the risk of another outbreak, which would put pressure on the NHS. Meanwhile, a wider reopening for limited indoor mixing in pubs and restaurants is still. Sports fans could also be sent COVID tests along with their tickets so they can watch major events including the Euros and Wimbledon again this summer. It has also been reported previously that the PM is hoping to reunite families to allow them to mingle by Easter. Good Friday falls on April 2nd.